Well, as you can see, we've been in the studio the last couple of days. Catching up with people that I know from racing has been one of the big themes that I've been doing. So make sure to check out some of these conversations. You may or may not know the names, but trust me, you're going to love the stories. And again, keeping up with our mantra of talking to the people who make racing happen. 36-year-old Steve Ovens is my broadcast partner out at Land of Legends Raceway. He is up in the tower, and he calls the race, so he is up there for 4.5 hours, sometimes longer, on a Saturday night while I'm wandering around having fun in the pit area. He started his career, let me think now, this was all the way back at Outlaw Speedway. Actually, he started with podcasts back in 2013, started announcing in Outlaw, then went to Woodhull, and now at Canandaigua. He also does some stuff with CRSA. His business is Turn 5 Media. He is actually doing some work today, some promotional videos for some teams. So if you're looking for something like that, get a hold of Steve. He'll take care of you. Let's head to Horseheads. That's in between Watkins Glen and Elmira. 36-year-old Steve Ovens joins me right now. Steve, how we doing on this? Well, it's not snowing, so I guess it's not too bad on Sunday. How we doing?
Yeah, it's certainly an improvement from the weekend. So, yeah, it's a nice day out here. Holidays are fast approaching, and taking a Sunday to check in on some football and get some client work done here today.
Yeah, and the reason he's doing the football today is because his team plays tonight. So he's about 8:20 tonight. He's going to be doing some other things here on Sunday. Man, I'm so proud to be a part of this team at Land of Legends. You and I were talking about that before with what we do. I imagine you feel the same, don't you?
I do. I feel very fortunate to be able to be there and to be a part of the team. I when I was a little kid and when I even got into media and announcing, some of these places, Canandaigua, Weedsport, Utica, just all these different tracks that, at the time I thought, wow, it must be so cool to be able to do this at those prestigious places, and to be able to do that is something I feel very lucky to be able to do, and to do it with such a great team. It's you feel fortunate, but you also take a lot of pride in what we do, and it's a lot of fun.
Is it what you thought it would be?
I didn't really know what I thought it would be, to be honest. I mean, when I started. When I started at Land of Legends in 2019, I knew that they had a live stream component, and I knew Art Rorick. He's just a video and streaming, guru. He's been there. He's done that. I had been friends with Art for quite a few years before getting to work with him there at Land of Legends, and I knew that the possibilities of what could be were great, but until you get there and get into everything, you don't really know kind of, is sky the limit here, or what are our limitations? So I really didn't go in with any expectations. I was so nervous going there.
Really?
Because I wanted to make sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. I was so nervous because I put places like that on such a pedestal that, and some of the voices that had announced there in years past, I was so worried that I was not going to be able to kind of hold up to that expectation that the fans or the drivers would have, and I really tried hard to make sure that there was a lot of new drivers, new players that I hadn't announced on a weekly basis. There were some I certainly knew better than others, but I just wanted to make sure that, coming in as the new guy, that, I was, kind of living up to what people expect when they come to the races on the weekend.
And I'm sure the main guy for you was Gary Montgomery. You guys became very close friends, so I'm sure you kind of felt that pressure as well. You're sitting in Gary Montgomery's seat at Canandaigua.
Absolutely, and that's how I viewed it. And I hesitate to say that because Shane was a huge figure there for a long time as well. But you're right. I mean, Gary and I didn't realize when I was watching Gary on Rush Hour on Dirt, I had no idea that Gary lived in the same town that I did.
Oh, really?
So I came to know that as I got to know Gary a little better when I was then racing and he was promoting and the announcer at Dundee there. And when I came to realize that, we became, pretty good friends. And then when I got into out of the race car and wanted to do media and try to what would it take for me to become an announcer. He became a mentor and a dear friend. So yeah, you're absolutely right on that.
And Steve and I share that story actually because I thought, I'll be honest with you, Steve, I thought I was Mr. King, you know what, until I went to Canandaigua and listened to Gary Montgomery, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay, this guy's doing another level here. I need to step my game up if I want to be mentioned and even close to that same class. You mentioned your racing years, and I only got to do it one season. You did it a lot more seasons than I did, but it really did help me to understand what was really going on. So I'm sure when you went from race car driver to announcer, you used a lot of that experience.
I tried to. I mean, was I racing a big block modified? No. Was I racing a sportsman? No. But you know as well as I do. I mean, we raced in the same division,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, yes, it's not those other types of cars, but just the general principles and being able to, you know, see drivers that are going at it on the track and you know, boy, if you know, the emotions spill over, just knowing, having been in those situations, you know, being able to help describe to the fan, man, you know, I get it. I get it. You know, these guys are out there, you know, dueling, trying to get a spot, trying to win the race, and you know, it just, I do feel like there was a lot of that, whether it was, you know, being able to understand the emotion or you know, even the driving or even explaining an incident on track. You know, I do think that helped, and you know, having been around the sport and knowing some of the folks, you know, that have been a part of this sport for a long time, I don't know how that couldn't help you.
Somebody asked me a while back what the best part was about my job, you know, what I enjoyed about what I do. And I'm wondering if it's similar to you. I like watching the people as they come up. They get that first heat win, the first feature win, they move to a new division. That, I think, is my favorite part of it. Do you have a favorite part?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, those stories were a big part of what I enjoyed when I started announcing. You know, I had known so many of the names that had raced it at BlackRock / Outlaw, you know, back in the day. So to see some second and third generation drivers coming up through and being able to mention that, you know, because at that time, you know, it wasn't live streamed. It was, you know, you would, you know, have a race and then you'd buy the Mel Thomas DVD the next weekend. And, you know, a couple weeks later to have somebody come back and say, hey, you know, the fact that you mentioned my Uncle Butch who raced and my grandfather John who raced and mentioned that I was a third gen, you know, like those little things meant a lot, you know, to folks. And so, you know, yeah, there's a big part of that I enjoy seeing out of that. I'm big on those stories and trying to, you know, interject, you know, whatever facts might be provided or what I've, you know, been able to capture along the way. You know, I know that numbers and stats and stuff are not necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but
Sure.
it's just how I've, you know, it's just part of my recipe for announcing a race, and I know everybody, you know, likes their sauce a little bit different, but
good analogy.
it's just, you know, it works for me, and it seems to resonate, and so I've just kind of, you know, kept going with you know, with that, and do I understand it's not everybody's thing? Yeah, certainly, but you know, you try to balance that out best you can.
Yeah, and that's our Gary Montgomery influence too, is all those little things that aren't the stats, because that's what Gary was all about. Only about 30 seconds left at this point. Everything's going well, enjoying time with your son and all that, and ready for the holidays?
Yeah, he's growing up and walking and talking. We might have some competition on our hands. So.
He's going to take over for us in a few years. We didn't get to a lot of the stuff that I was planning on getting to with Steve because, you know, I kind of set a roadmap, but then I can easily go off on a side road. So we'll get back with Steve here in just a little bit and talk about some of the other sides of the job and what things were like for him this past year, because it was a tough year. Steve, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Sounds good, Doug. Thanks.